Welcome to 3 Point Landing, where we talk about movies, games, and TV. This week, we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to our hearts. Basically, it's our superhero update. We'll be talking about how Marvel movies used to be out every 2-3 months, to the point that it never looked like it was going to end. But apparently, COVID has changed those plans. And we'll be going a little bit into somebody from an entirely different era of superhero movies who just passed away. We'll be talking about the filmography of Joel Schumacher and looking back at Batman and Robin on whether or not it should be as despised as it is. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I am Misha, and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host,
Matthew.
Yes, because we have to say our names like Pokemon every single time. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine.
Do you remember what the outside world looks like? Because it's been a while.
Actually, I would. You might be surprised to know that I did encounter the outside world today.
What? You never go out. Even when it wasn't the pandemic, you never go out.
I went out to get some medicine, okay? I needed to get some Neozip. I needed to get some Advil, some nasal spray, keep that medicine cabinet stocked. And, and withdraw money that you used to pay for delivery services.
You still use physical money?
Yeah. I don't live in the advanced society you live in. Hello.
I don't think any of us live in an advanced society. I think an advanced society would have figured out this whole pandemic thing by now.
That's the joke.
It's not funny if you have to explain it. Or wait, did you let me do the explaining? Oh,
yes, man. I did. I tricked you.
I hate you so much. I hope you know this. I hate you.
But anyways, today we gotta talk about
right.
We gotta talk about some stuff.
Something that I kind of miss. I mean, we've talked about this before. I miss going to the cinema. I miss the whole theater movie watching experience. That's something I miss a lot. Something we won't be seeing anytime soon. But when we were going to the cinema on a fairly regular basis, something you could always be sure of over the last, 5-10 years is that every 2-3 months, there's going to be another Marvel movie. And that's something that got stopped when COVID reared its head.
The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, I say.
Did you just call Stan Lee the Lord or Walt Disney Studios?
Maybe both. Maybe we have two lords. Two lords. So anyway, back in the day in 2000, before 2008, or is it 2007? I have no idea. You can correct me in the comments. We used to have no Marvel Cinematic Universe, and when that movie dropped in, Iron Man, and laid a foundation for what was an exciting new cinematic universe, this unthinkable idea of movies about different superhero characters connected to each other. Suddenly, things were just so amazing, and I think we took it for granted after a while. For 10 years, like clockwork, like you said, there would always be 1 or 2 or 3 Marvel movies a year.
Right.
And it's just so weird that, we're now living in a time where the Marvel plan is kind of up in the air. Part of it is deliberate. Kevin Feige and his friends at the House of Mouse said that the Marvel Universe would be taking a break for a full calendar year, starting with Spider-Man: Colin Far From Home and all the way to the projected release of Black Widow in
I think that was supposed to be April or May.
Yeah, May or April 2020. But because of COVID, that movie has been postponed. Meanwhile, we can expect that COVID will also postpone all the other movies that we have barely heard anything about. And that's the thing that makes it all weird on so many levels.
Absolutely.
A period of few movies, movies that were supposed to come out being delayed, and movies that we expected news about just being virtually non-existent.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, I need to ask you, do you remember what it felt like when you saw Endgame, Avengers Endgame, the film that effectively ended the first era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because for me, coming out of that cinema, I honestly felt that I did not need to see another one. After that, I felt entirely satisfied.
It's strange. My brain wasn't conditioned to think that way, and I think I think part of that was like, I get the satisfaction and pleasure of seeing a complete story or a complete saga close off. But so much of the Marvel story is wrapped up in marketing narratives. And so even before Endgame came out, they were already talking about the future. You couldn't go on the internet. Sure. You couldn't go on the internet without them telling you like what the next plan was. So when Endgame finished, my brain couldn't tell me, oh, I hope this is the end of it, because not just because of the awareness of the Marvel machine, but also because it's like, oh, hey guys, here's this new character, Captain Marvel, which is her movie is relatively successful, and she's a part of this movie. No Way in Hell, relatively successful. We're talking financials, okay? As long as it's not like a torpedo dive.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like that's what kind of killed some of the suspense after Infinity War. You knew that Spider-Man wasn't going to stay dead because his sequel was already shooting at the time. Yeah. But I think a lot of the success of the first iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, fine, I'm going to include it up to and including Endgame. A lot of the success came from the fact that, by and large, to a mainstream movie-going audience, all of this stuff was new. It wasn't new to you if you were reading comic books for the past 10, 20 years. But if you were seeing this stuff on the screen for the first time, you really didn't know if these heroes were going to stay dead. You didn't know if Thanos was going to win. You didn't know if Captain America would make it out of 1940, 41, or 42, or whatever it was. And part of the fun for us, the longtime fans, was being there with everybody else, learning to appreciate and love these characters as much as we did. So by the time we got to Endgame, I was entirely satisfied and I was happy for it. And I honestly thought I didn't need to see another Marvel movie until, I knew there was stuff coming up. Conceptually, I knew that there was stuff. I already seen the schedule. I was aware of it. But narratively, thematically, I was happy to let it go.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe part of like growing up with comics also like sort of trains you to the idea of the perpetual narrative and true. Also the Yeah. And so it's like, I don't want to, sort of a side rant here. I really don't like going on the internet and talking to people about movies and pop culture, and they're all like, oh, this could never happen because Marvel or Disney or EA, it's all about the money and keeping the cash cow going. Like, they can't participate in good faith discussions about story and creative ideas because they're so hung up on trying to sound cleverer than they are because they read Wall Street, because they think that they are just as educated by reading Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. I don't want to come off as that, but I do feel like I'm desensitized by the idea that these big IP owning corporations will never let a good idea go to rest for as long as it can keep generating profit.
That is true.
Comic books sort of like, innovated that. And, the moment the Hollywood machine said, hey, we're going to pick up these comics and make them into a franchise. What? They have built-in perpetual infinite narratives too. Exactly what we were looking for.
Hey, absolutely right. These things were designed to, well, they're maybe not initially, but the movies for sure were designed to keep on going. That's why Captain America's shield gets passed down. That's why it's the roster of Avengers is ever evolving. These things were designed to keep going, even if you lose 1 or 2 stars. And so you're right. I knew that it was going to move forward, but I was okay with it. And then I saw Spider-Man Far From Home, and all of a sudden I was excited again by the possibilities.
I know, right?
I still believe that they're going to have to up their game a considerable amount because you can't surprise people anymore with the same things that worked for the first 10 years. Like, you look at Avengers Endgame, and then you look at the first Avengers in 2012, 6 superheroes standing together just looks quaint now. But back then, it blew our minds.
And superhero infused media is not in the same landscape that it was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Now Marvel has to contend with the fact that when DC gets around to getting all of their shit together, they may have narratives or characters that could seriously change what people expect from these kinds of things. Never mind like other things like the DC universe on the CW television network,
right.
or things from all these other original non-Marvel, non-DC superhero stuff like The Boys. Like there's a lot of
yeah, absolutely. Superhero awareness, superhero culture. I think we discussed this in our pilot episode, in the Joker episode.
That's right.
Awareness of comic book heroes and comic book properties, whether they're Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, whatever, from the Avengers to the Walking Dead to the Boys, or even something as esoteric as iZombie. People are aware of these characters now. It's no longer limited to the ones who go into your neighborhood comic book store.
And I think the position
that awareness brings with it some kind of expectation now that everyone is on the same page, for the most part, with regards to these characters, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think the position that Marvel finds itself in is in the same position that Netflix is in right now. Remember how Netflix sort of like de facto cornered the market on the idea of streaming, internet streaming, video services, and not just that, they sort of like they cornered the market so hard that they tried to attack all the niches, which means they wanted to have all the famous content from the biggest companies, and they wanted to have prestige dramas that sort of like come up to the sort of compete directly with the likes of HBO.
I think we covered that like in our second or third episode where we talked about the streaming wars. Well, I'm just gonna plug every episode now. I'm gonna plug all the past episodes in this one. But wow.
We should, one of these days we should do a clip episode. Like if you ever watch a lot of anime or a lot of
you want to do
a clip. Yeah.
I don't know.
That'd be hilarious.
That sounds like a bigger headache for our engineer than us, really.
We'll frame our episode around you and me telling each other stories, and then we'll cut back.
Or one of us gets injured and the other one recites their favorite memories.
Oh, that's right. All right.
The way they used to do it on those stupid shows.
Our producer PV, this is his cue to step in and say, "Gago kayo, stop it."
But and then after that, we're gonna want to try a bottle episode. Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do a bottle episode. We'll be trapped together in COVID misery.
They won't be the quarantine sessions anymore. They'll just be the full-blown pandemic show. 3-point landing. Going back to the topic, what of the upcoming slate of Marvel productions are you looking forward to? I mean, honestly speaking, just in case everybody out there, for anyone who doesn't know, the lineup for the next 2 years has already been announced. So we're going to go through some of those. But Matthew, what are you looking forward to in particular?
I'm looking. Let's do a three. Let's do a 3 for 3. I'll take 3 and you take 3. I would like to say I'm excited for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yes.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and WandaVision. Those are the 3 I'm most excited for.
You know what? I'm right there with you. You're excited for those? Okay, let's go. You want to go into those now, or I'll name my 3?
Name your 3.
I'm excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. I'm excited for the Loki TV show. And I am also excited for, I want to say Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu, or what's the one with that they just hired Angelina Jolie for? The Eternals. Thank you. I was going to say Inhumans, but then I remembered that I actually spent money to see the premiere of the Inhumans in IMAX, and I wanted to kill myself. It was so bad. It was so incredibly bad.
Let's talk about this in chronological order. Let me be our guide for the moment. Now,
I honestly don't know. Wait, can I throw in Black Widow? I'm going to choose 4 things. I want Black Widow too.
Well, we're gonna get the Black Widow prequel movie or whatever it is. We're gonna get it in November, and right after that is when we're going to be getting. Well, not right after. We're going to get The Eternals on February 2021, directed by Chloe Zhao and starring an ensemble cast. Go. Why are you excited about this movie?
I want to see Black Widow because, as far as I'm concerned, that movie is like at least 5 years too late. To be perfect, I mean, For heaven's sake, the reason it has to be a prequel is because she's dead already. They had to wait for her to die to give her own movie. I mean, seriously. And I don't even think they were going to do that if Wonder Woman didn't make money for the other guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
seriously.
I think part of it also is that they might have plans for making Black Widow be their other female franchise, but they don't have a script yet, or they haven't nailed where they want the project to be at. So that's why Black Widow is sort of like taking its spot, I guess.
I kind of think that part of it is they're trying to wait and see how this one does first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. But why are you excited about Eternals? Because I don't know a lot about the property except that it's cosmic, and maybe once in a while they appear in a Fantastic Four comic, and that's when they become relevant to me.
I'm excited for the Eternals because if I'm not mistaken, Jack Kirby created them years ago. But I actually read them when Neil Gaiman took his crack at reinventing them for the 20th century. And I always liked the idea. I mean, I always enjoyed it when Jack Kirby would play with the idea of ancient gods or ancient aliens or ancient creatures who were advanced enough to be perceived as gods.
Come on, you wanted to say it. You want to Giorgio this and go.
No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. I interviewed that guy, by the way. He did the whole aliens thing.
I know you
with the hair.
I know you
post
did.
That picture on the page.
I know you did. That's why I was making the reference, dude.
But I always liked that, and I'm looking forward to see because I love a good Jack Kirby head trip, and you can see a lot of his more way out ideas. He would put them. I mean, as amazing as the stuff that he did for. Say Fantastic Four and his other creations were, in this case, we haven't actually seen any film that goes full Jack Kirby. And I think this could be a good outlet for it. I want to see. I was very impressed with how they depicted the worlds of Doctor Strange in his first movie appearance. So I look forward to seeing how they visualize or how they execute the visuals with the Eternals. And seeing as they got that Indian dude from Silicon Valley to do sit-ups and stuff, if they can
he's Pakistani. He's Pakistani.
Oh, right. Yeah. That was on the show. Right. I'm sorry. Yes, he's Pakistani. I'm sorry. I'm still mad at him for the first episode of that rebooted Twilight Zone. That was terrible. But
not his fault.
Yeah, I know the episode was 30 minutes too long, but I figure if you can whip that dude into shape, then we are in for some amazing stuff. I think Angelina Jolie is in this movie, and I can't remember who else. But
Salma Hayek.
See, for that reason alone, I mean, I would sign up for this movie.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Kumail to be in this movie. I'm a big fan of his. I first discovered him through podcasting. Would you believe?
So what does he podcast about?
He had a podcast with his wife, Emily V. Gordon. It was called The Indoor Kids. It was primarily about video games, but they would also talk about other stuff. And, this is back in 2011. He was still in the stand-up, circuit with some acting. He hadn't hit big yet, but, it was a really, really good podcast.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, and I've been following him ever since. Like if Kumail shows up in something, I'm there to watch because I think he's fucking hilarious and he's only getting better every year.
He was one of the janitors on Community, wasn't he?
I don't watch Community. You know this already.
It's on Netflix. You don't have any more excuses.
Why would I be? Well, I'm busy watching Borgen. Hello.
I'm just going to judge you from here. I am judging you from Pasig right now. That's what I'm doing.
Anyway, we've only got a little bit more time, so let's keep going.
Last thing. The cool thing about the Eternals is they were like master geneticists. They like meddling around and creating powers in lesser beings. So they've got a lot of stuff to do with the existing alien races that were already introduced in the MCU, the Kree and the Skrulls, and even something to do with some of the superpowered adventurers on Earth. So this could be a really, really the start of something big and epic and cosmic, and I'm all for it.
They might reintroduce the Inhumans. Probably not, but let's put a dark horse bet there. They might reintroduce the Inhumans because Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is an Inhuman, and she's on the cards for
to be fair,
the Marvel Universe.
The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. handle the Inhumans way better than the Inhumans did.
We never know. They might change their mind or not. I'm not saying this is a decision I support. I'm just merely putting all the possibilities out there. But it's more likely that these characters might pave the way for what the mutants might end up being.
Oh man, I cannot wait for the X-Men to be in the MCU. It's just too bad they'll never team up with Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Or will they?
The next movie I want to talk about is Thor: Love and Thunder, which is going to be the fourth. It'll be the first in the Marvel cinematic universe to be a fourth entry. Am I not mistaken?
No, I think Endgame counts as the fourth entry of the Avengers.
That's a team movie. That's different.
No, you
and
just said movie.
One story.
You didn't say solo movie.
Fine.
And as big as the casts are any of them solo movies anymore? I mean, Captain America 3 was Civil War. That was like, another Avengers flick.
Yeah, I know. That was Avengers 3, am I right?
Maybe Avengers 2.5.
Anyway, Avengers 2.5. Anyway, Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, this is interesting because it's reported that the movie will be the swan song for Chris Hemsworth as the titular god of thunder.
Really? He said that? It's last?
Here's the thing. Okay, but let me complete this whole round so we can get to where we're going, which is that Natalie Portman will be returning for Thor 4 Love and Thunder, even though she didn't play the character of Jane Foster in Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
Now,
and all of her role in Endgame was just outtakes.
Yeah, just outtakes are like recontextualized. And the suspicion or the theory right now is that she will be playing Jane Foster Thor. As they
announced it. They announced it at San Diego last year. That's not a theory. She held up the hammer and everything. She held up the fucking hammer. So here's the thing. The reason why I call it the swan song for Chris Hemsworth as Thor is that, well, the moment she takes on that mantle, she's Thor, right? But it's very possible that Chris Hemsworth will remain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to portray Odin's son, which is basically when Thor is not Thor. Ooh, is that when he only has like one arm and it's made of gold?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask my wife about that. She's the one who. My wife. They're the one who read all the Thor comics that Jason Aaron wrote.
Yeah, there was a time we had to chop his arm off, and then his replacement arm was gold, basically. But yeah, I could see that. I think that would be good for Chris Hemsworth, so he doesn't have to do CrossFit 8 months a year. And subsist on boiled chicken.
Yeah, it feels like the movie is kind of being massaged to sort of like develop futures and relationships with some of the more popular actors inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe who do not have long-term contracts. So Captain America, Iron Man are all done with, but now Tessa Thompson, Jane Foster,
Chris Hemsworth,
they're all having it's their time to shine in terms of paving a narrative future for them. And what's also interesting to me about that movie is that they confirmed that the Guardians of the Galaxy will be incorporated somewhat in the film. So this might be sort of a cameo for a guest appearance for them. And it's funny because there was a rumor after Endgame came out that Thor would be joining them and they would become the Asgardians of the Galaxy or something.
I'm pretty sure that's actually a Marvel title at this point, but
I think so. But anyway, lots of things are happening or could happen in Thor: Love and Thunder, and that's why I'm so excited about it, because even if I don't know everything, it just feels ripe with potential.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Just one last thing about that one. I am excited for Love and Thunder also because it has the director of Thor Ragnarok, which I admit on first viewing I wasn't entirely a fan of Ragnarok because I wanted to see Viking Armageddon. I really wanted to see that. I did not expect to be assaulted with a laugh-a-minute buddy picture. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I'm sure for some people it was difficult to appreciate the first time around.
But when I saw it the second time,
once you get on board, once you get on board with it, you're on board. Yeah.
When I appreciate it for what it was and not for what it wasn't, I was laughing along with everybody else, and I greatly enjoyed that. I love the
and not what you want.
What's his name? The director's name?
Taika Waititi.
Right. I love that guy's output. What we do in the shadows and and Thor Ragnarok was fun. So I hope I want to see what he does with this one.
And the final movie that we have confirmed, I believe, is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. I have to admit, I don't know a lot about this movie, which is weird for me to get excited about it. But it does feature, it's going to feature Wanda, it's going to feature Scarlet Witch in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the reports are that it's going to tie in with the WandaVision television series, as well as with Loki. So Multiverse of Madness is sort of supposed to functionally reconcile or wrestle with all of the, space-time stuff that is the space-time fallout that resulted because of Avengers Endgame.
Well, I'm excited for it because of the director they announced.
Yeah? Who's the director now?
No,
is
seriously?
It still Scott Derrickson? It's still...
No, it's not. It's Sam freaking Raimi.
Oh, really? That was confirmed?
Yeah.
I heard the rumor, but I didn't know it was...
Wait, isn't it confirmed?
It says here, Raimi confirmed his involvement in April 2020.
Yeah!
You are right.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited because Sam Raimi, as some of you might know, was the director of the Evil Dead trilogy. He produced and directed the first Spider-Man trilogy, which I love 2/3 of. So Sam Raimi is one of my favorite directors in terms of tone, style, and also sense of humor. So he's the perfect guy to take us on a Doctor Strange horror mind trip.
Will Darkman appear? I love Darkman.
I also love Darkman. Liam Neeson, back when nobody knew who he was.
Yeah.
Darkman was cool. But the thing about Sam Raimi is he has a very clear affection for the Marvel comics of the 60s and 70s. That's why he couldn't quite get on board for the he couldn't get on board for the Venom train for Spider-Man 3. He was forced into doing it, and it shows in that movie. He had no affection for that character whatsoever. But Doctor Strange is a classic character through and through, so he should be able to do good with this one, I think. And he's way overdue for a major studio film. The last one I can remember was Drag Me to Hell, which I love.
And also Oz the Great and Wonderful. But I think
I don't want to remember Oz the Great and Powerful. That movie was crap.
But I think what's interesting about it is that he directed Spider-Man, and he's going to direct Doctor Strange.
Yes.
And those are both two characters co-created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
I love Ditko. Now that guy was off.
Yeah, genuinely one of my favorite artists. Yeah, and I think the last three things we got to talk about are the television series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Loki.
Yeah, these are supposed to premiere on Disney+, so we have no idea when we're going to see these shows in our neck of the woods. Mm-mm. But I think what's cool about them is that they're not going to be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that plays it coy about whether or not it's part of the MCU. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But the WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and the Loki TV shows are firmly set in the MCU because they got the same actors playing them in the movies to play them on the shows. And apparently events in the shows will influence what happens in future movies.
Yeah, a lot has happened in television over the past 10 years since the Marvel Cinematic Universe debuted, which is that television as a storytelling platform has become even more elevated than it was during the era of Golden Age peak TV. And so it's become more like, not fashionable, but become more like palatable for a big movie star to come down to the land of TV land and direct and appear in maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 episodes of a short mini season that tells a complete story, and that's what's happening with these television shows.
And I think
I believe the Falcon and the Winter.
Sorry, I think we mentioned before when we were talking about Watchmen or Star Trek Picard or something, where the shorter seasons help movie stars sign on for these things, so it leaves them free for the rest of the year to do other projects. You don't have to commit 10 months of the year to one show anymore.
Yeah. I think the most that we know about is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in which they've not shown us a teaser, but they've told us about, which is that we'll see Helmut Zemo emerge. We'll see.
I just hope he puts on the mask this time. He was so underwhelming.
I know, right?
In Civil War.
I bet that. Come on, he's going to put on the mask at the end of the end of the series, just for a shout out at the very least. I mean, they got Melvin Potter to wear the gladiator outfit and Daredevil, for crying out loud.
That's right. They did. But what was his name? The guy who played Baron Zemo, who played Zemo in the movie.
Daniel Bruhl.
Right. I can't imagine him in a purple gimp mask with a fur collar. But okay, weirder things have happened.
I know. Well, we couldn't imagine this entire universe 10 years ago. So there you go.
Fair point.
WandaVision is going to be very interesting because it's going to pick up directly from the fallout of Wanda losing her one true love, Vision, to the events of Endgame. Spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame. And how she's dealing with that emotionally and psychologically, and how that has an impact on her powers. And,
I think he died in Infinity War.
And we've seen a Super Bowl teaser. You're right. We've seen a Super Bowl teaser that shows some quick images, and basically we've been presented with Wanda fighting herself in multiple strange realities, including 1950s black and white sitcom. So that's going to be like a wild, trippy show at the very least. That's going to be playing with formats and worlds. And Loki is the one that we know. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that there's also like one version where Wanda is wearing like her 60s, 70s classic comic book outfit, but it looks like it's done more as a Halloween costume, joke, Easter egg kind of thing than anything else.
That's right, with the pointy red stuff.
I think that WandaVision is going to be taking a lot from the Tom King run of the Vision comics, but I don't quote me on that. That's the one where he's living a happy, quiet life in suburbia with his android family. And that was all kinds of messed up. I don't know if this movie's going to pick up on that, but I mean, it'd be fun if it did.
Mm-hmm. And the last one that we're going to be talking about is Loki. Loki is the TV series that we know the least about. All we know is that after the events of Endgame, there is a Loki, not the same Loki that we know from from another reality, who is traveling through time and space after absconding with
the Tesseract.
What are the powers? Was it the Tesseract? Yeah, with the Tesseract.
Which is the Space Stone? Is that right? I'm probably remembering it wrong. But I'll let our fans crucify me in the comments. Do we have fans? Wait.
Yeah. So why are you excited about the Loki?
I'm excited for Loki because I feel that the movies never let him go full. They never let him break bad all the way as far as they could have. Because after the first Thor movie, when they realized that audiences love this guy, they could not make him a full-on villain anymore after that. They would hint at it, but then he'd have a heart of gold later on. Sure, he tried to kill Odin at the end of Thor 2, but, in the third one, he felt really bad about it.
Yeah. I feel like, don't get me wrong, I do not regret or do not, I cherish every moment of fun and hilarity and coolness that Loki had that we got, but at the same time, it all happened at the expense of what kind of villainous trajectory they probably had in mind for him at the beginning. Because, Hiddleston is so charming, Hiddleston is so likable. Like what you said, all of that stuff. And I think that kind of defanged the character a little bit. It took away some of his teeth. And,
he was impossible to hate.
A little bit,
he was impossible to hate. And nobody wanted to pull the trigger on making him hateable again.
Yeah, and then they would just use the excuse of like, oh, he's my brother. That's why I can't, commit to anything like any real disciplinary action against him.
Or he's a bad guy, but he's misunderstood. He's not evil. Or he's evil, but not really. I'm like, guys, come on. He's literally the god of lies and mischief. Nothing that comes out of his mouth should be trusted. But this is what we're looking forward to in the 6, 8, 10 months ahead. I don't know how many of these are going to even come out in any recognizable form or platform, because like Black Widow has been pushed back continuously since April or May. Now they're saying it's going to come out in November, but I think that's optimistic.
Well, right now the calendar that we talked about, everything that we talked about, Misha, everything actually ends up till the year 2022.
Oh, no kidding.
So we are looking at a long tail of movies. It's the stuff that we don't know about, like, takes place after that.
Oh, wait, last one. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. I'm looking forward to that, because if there's something that the MCU has proven incredibly suited for is presenting heroes of different genres, or even presenting the same hero in different genres. Like, the first Thor was a sword and sandals epic, fish out of water comedy. The second one was forgettable. The third one was a full-on buddy road trip comedy. So don't
underrate it. Forgettable is a genre.
The only good thing about the second Thor movie, and we have discussed this, is that it gives emotional resonance to Thor's arc in Endgame. Endgame justified the existence of Thor 2 because on its own, Thor 2 is garbage. But what was I saying? Sorry. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, not a title that I've personally invested in or read a lot of, but I like the idea of a full-on martial arts epic in the Marvel universe. And they got to play the lead, they got the what's his name? The brother from Kim's Convenience. The tall one, I forgot his name.
Simu Liu.
What was it?
His name is Simu Liu.
Okay, cool. That's his name. I will take your word for that. I believe you.
And also, it's the movie's current title is actually Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Oh, right. They're going to bring the Mandarin into this in a non-racist way.
Tony Leung is going to play him.
Because Tony Leung is the best freaking way to do it. If you're going to bring on a full-on racist caricature to life and update it for the 21st century, you get one of the best living Chinese actors. Okay, I can dig it. Yeah, Tony Leung is awesome.
I imagine what they're gonna do with the Mandarin is they're just gonna fucking Ken Watanabe it, which it means that
they already did that. They already did that in Iron Man 3, didn't they? When they revealed that he was Ben Kingsley, but he wasn't Ben Kingsley.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, with Tony Leung playing the Mandarin, we're not going to get Fu Manchu Mandarin. We're going to get, "Hi, I'm Tony Leung, and I look very good in this fancy suit. Also, I'm evil."
To be fair, Tony Leung looks pretty good in damn anything.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. I can dig that. I mean, it's not the first time they had to tackle a problematic character. At least this time they didn't change his race. Or, hired Tilda Swinton to play him. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah,
we'll see how this goes. What Marvel projects are our listeners looking forward to? I wonder. Let us know in the comments.
And that is I guess that's pretty much every single Marvel project that we know of or we have meaningful information about. We're looking forward to all of it and hope we can get it sooner than later, thanks to this pandemic. All y'all's listening in podcast land, tell us what you're looking forward to in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or what imaginary projects you hope they tackle. Let us know in the comments, email us, or bug us on Facebook.
Cool. Man, I forgot to bring up Blade. Welcome back to 3 Point Landing. We are now in the second half of our superhero update, and after going through the upcoming slate of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we are now going back in time to another era of superhero movies. I'm bringing this up because last week, the director of Batman and Robin, legendarily one of the worst superhero movies ever made, Joel Schumacher, passed away at the age of 80. From all accounts, he was a class act. He has nothing. I mean, people have nothing but good things to say about him from having worked with him. And apparently he was a heck of a character from what I've seen, what I've heard and read. So it might be a little bit unfair to peg his entire career around that one movie.
Well, it's not just because he was a super nice guy that everybody loved and also was super gracious to all those who worked with him, but also because his filmography is just staggering. It's huge.
It's mind-boggling.
For us to even think about, for us to even reduce him to just like one bad Batman movie and one mostly okay, the jury is out, depending on how I feel or how many drinks I've had, Batman movie.
But you know what? Okay, here's the thing about Joel Schumacher. I commonly, when people ask me who my favorite filmmaker is, I talk about people like Steven Spielberg, because Spielberg, his filmography has no one specific genre. I mean, he could do anything except high comedy, apparently, if you've seen 1941. But at the end of the day, Schumacher's filmography is pretty much the same. He's done everything from horror to drama to courtroom intrigue to superheroes. You're absolutely right. He should not be confined to the movie with bat nipples.
Yeah.
But if I remember right, Joel Schumacher got his career started as an interior designer or as a set decorator or something like that.
I think he did some set decoration, but I think he was mostly known for at the time was costume design.
Right. And he wasn't what you would describe as a fan of the Batman movies. But what he was, and the reason he got chosen by Warner Brothers, was he was a proven commodity who could make a commercial film that would not have children crying in the cinema the way Batman Returns did.
Don't forget also that he was actually handpicked by Tim Burton. So this is very much a case of, Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon thing going on. Right now, and I don't want to get into it too much right now, but a lot of people are deriding what Joss Whedon's what influence Joss Whedon had on the Justice League film. But they do forget that Zack Snyder said, "I'm a leave-in. Hey DC, I recommend Joss to take over for me." And it's the same thing with Schumacher. Tim Burton was like, all right, you know what? I'm having a hard time dealing with these guys at Warner Brothers, but if you really ask me who we should take over this stuff, it's got to be Joel.
Wait, are you serious? I thought they didn't give him a choice. Yeah. I thought they just told him that you're not the director anymore, you're the producer. I thought they blindsided him with that.
I know that there was a lot of friction between Warner Brothers and a lot of, headbutting. But what I heard was that Tim Burton also chose him.
Wow.
It could be, the circumstances could be different. Like maybe he was given a short list and he said, well, Joel's the one who least offends me on this list.
Okay.
But,
okay. That's interesting.
But hey, if I'm wrong.
I can think of why. I mean, even if that's whether or not that's true, I mean, I can believe that because the reason that Schumacher would have been attractive to Warner Brothers was because he already had a proven track record of commercial hits. At that point, it was at the early 90s. He'd already done stuff like St. Elmo's Fire and The Lost Boys, which I love. I think he also did Flatliners? Did he do Flatliners?
He did Flatliners.
Right. And he had already
Falling Down.
Oh, yes.
Client.
Absolutely. But which movies do you think he should be remembered for, if not, George Clooney's one attempt at Batman?
Well, it's hard for me to say one movie that a few movies that he should be remembered for, because they all feel like they have their not flaws, but they all feel like very weird movies. I can't go like, hey everybody, you gotta watch 8mm. Hey everybody, you gotta watch Phone Booth.
I don't think anyone needs to see 8mm more than once. No,
I love that film.
That was so heavy.
Oh, don't get me wrong. 8mm is not a great film, but do I enjoy watching it? Yes.
As long as we're not talking about the direct-to-video sequel. But yeah, I can see that.
But in answer to your question, I would say Falling Down. People got to watch Falling Down, especially in the context of, today.
Maybe you can refresh people's memories, because this movie is 30-odd years old at this point. Go ahead.
Falling Down is 27 years old. It stars Michael Douglas as a former defense contractor who, if I recall correctly, he lost his job. Yep. And at the movie is set during a sweltering summer in Los Angeles, where a heat wave has hit, and he's trying to walk across the city of Los Angeles to get to his daughter's birthday. And that's the plot, which isn't very interesting. But what makes the movie so electric is all the different things that happen on the way to the birthday party. And he basically goes on a rampage, making violent and sardonic tirades about poverty, customer service, commercialism, all that kind of stuff. He's just trying to get to his daughter's birthday, getting angrier every minute. Mm-hmm. He faces an obstacle towards that, and becoming increasingly more and more combative until the authorities start getting involved.
He's that movie was basically, think of it like the Joker. I mean, I look at it that way. It was just one regular dude who had a spectacularly bad day, to the point that by the end of it, he's just shooting people in the face.
Yeah. I think the movie might, for some people, the movie ages badly because they see it as, it can be seen as like, clueless, angry white guy movie. And I kind of get that take, but at the same time, I also feel like the character's not meant to be sympathetic. He's not meant to be like someone you root as hero, but rather as someone you identify with as being, sort of like making observations about how society pushes back at people and makes it difficult to have dignity, in the face of capitalism, exploitation, and a government and economy that just doesn't give a fuck about you.
Right. That is incredibly relevant now in this day and age, not just here, but I think in a lot of places where the divide between the haves and the have-nots has grown increasingly obvious. And it all really comes down to how willing you are to not go nuts. I mean, how prepared you are to not go nuts with everything that modern society has to throw at you. All the stresses, all the pressures, all the little things that get under your skin. I mean, again, we live in a country where just taking the train to work is an endurance test in and of itself. That's not even an exaggeration. You can line up for an hour and a half before you even get to the train platform here. So I can very, very easily imagine some version of this narrative taking place here in the real world. Especially, for me, the movie that I love surprising people with as being done by Joel Schumacher, because again, a lot of people cannot get bat nipples out of their head. For me, the movie that I like name dropping, just to surprise them, because it's so well done, it's so inventive in concept and execution, in narrative, acting, and I think the budget must have been something like $7 all told, was Phone Booth, starring Colin Farrell. I love Phone Booth. That's the story where Colin Farrell is stuck inside a phone booth for pretty much the entire runtime of the movie. And if he gets out, he's going to be shot. And he has no idea why. He just has his voice on the other end of the phone telling him what he's got to do. And for what it was, for being set in strictly, for the most part, one location, it really falls a lot to the direction and the performance, really, to carry the day. Think something like Ryan Reynolds in Buried, which is also criminally underrated in my opinion, where Ryan Reynolds spends 90 minutes in a coffin underground. That was also well done. I also want to
bring up... Sorry, I also want to bring up a movie like Ryan Reynolds in Buried, which and Colin Farrell in a phone booth, is the movie Cellular, starring Chris Evans.
I haven't seen that. How does that go?
That was interesting. It's basically he's just this carefree guy, and then he finds a cell phone in the beach or something, and he picks it up, and he hears Kim Basinger's voice on the line, and so using the phone, he's trying to find he's trying to find a complete stranger and help her get out of the bad situation she's in. So it's very much this sort of high concept, dialogue driven, sort of like simple premise movie that is in the vein of Phone Booth and Buried.
Except in Phone Booth, you got Kiefer Sutherland on the line and not Kim Basinger. So,
Yeah, and also Kiefer Sutherland is not the victim.
That's true.
But
when has Kiefer Sutherland ever been the victim, really?
Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Wait, no, he directed that, so it's his own goddamn fault.
That doesn't count.
I know my Kiefer Sutherland filmography very well, for better or worse. I want to celebrate this. I thought this movie is very interesting, Phone Booth, to me, because Kiefer is in a movie playing the sniper, and also the movie is in real time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the movie runs for 81 minutes.
Right.
And that is the time frame of the movie. There's no flash forward in time or flashbacks.
I'm so glad that's the direction you went, because I thought you were going to try and sell me on the charms of Forrest Whitaker again.
Well, I didn't say he was charming. I just said I liked him.
You can, whatever. Yeah, for Forrest Whitaker with his, I don't want to go into that right now. We're talking about Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
And as far as his relationship with Kiefer Sutherland goes professionally, I also like The Lost Boys.
Oh, yeah. I have not seen that movie. I should get around to doing
Wait, what?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
No, but go. Tell me all about this vampire
damn
theme flick.
shame. Well, I think you already know.
Is it?
You're already familiar with the premise, right? Where these two brothers, they move into a new town. They move into a new town, and basically they find out that the reason for a lot of mysterious disappearances in the town are a bunch of vampires who dress like a cross between the Dreadnoks from G.I. Joe and rejects from Mad Max. Basically, they look like a biker gang. And they're being led by Kiefer Sutherland. And it stars Corey Haim, Jason Patrick. They were very young at the time.
Jason Patrick.
Huh? Yes, Jason Patrick. I think I haven't heard about him in years. What's he been in?
That's the joke.
Since Speed 2, like seriously.
I don't know.
But
I don't know. I think it was all over after Speed 2.
Right. And this movie is like a whole who's who of 80s young celebrities at the time. There was Kiefer Sutherland, there was Corey Haim, there was Corey Feldman, Alex Winter, he's going to be in the new Bill and Ted movie. He's in this one. So it's fun. It's twisted take on the whole Peter Pan and the Lost Boys kind of thing because they stay young forever and all that. But it's very well done and rightfully recognized as a classic vampire flick, as well as a classic 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just always liked the idea. I don't know if this was a trend back then or whatever. I always liked the idea of regular kids going up against these classic monsters. I don't know. It was fun. It was fun.
I too love the Monster Squad.
Exactly. For anyone who hasn't seen it, check out the Monster Squad. It's where these kids use their knowledge of old Universal monster movies to fight the old Universal monsters. Namely, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon. They are all in that movie, and it rocks. But wait, Joel Schumacher.
Anyway.
3-point landing.
Let's talk about the Bat in the Room. Let's talk about his Bat movies. How do you feel about those Bat movies? You of the Bat mania.
Lordy, I enjoyed Batman Forever because I think I was the right age when it came out. I was like 11 or 12 when it came out, and I liked the idea. I mean, let's face it, Val Kilmer in a tux looks way better than Michael Keaton in a tux, and he was a far more credible Batman. The only trouble was he was as boring as sin. Val Kilmer was completely wooden. He's a great actor under the right circumstances, but I don't think that they had any idea where to take the show, take the character. And Joel Schumacher, not being necessarily a Bat fan, and he admitted this, he based a lot of his directorial choices on what he remembered from the 1960s Batman show with Dutch angles, crazy lighting, silly one-liners.
Oh, the Dutch angles, you're right.
I'm sorry?
I said the Dutch angles, you're absolutely right. It didn't even occur to me he was taking it from the TV show.
That's it. I mean, he was trying to make an episode of the 60s show, complete with the themed goons, complete with the bad one-liners, complete with, the Dutch lighting, the crazy angles, even the themed headquarters of the villains. Come on. It's all there. It's an episode of the Adam West show if they had $50 million to do it.
I have to admit, I do like Two-Face's headquarters. I too would be driven to make a headquarters that's like,
split down the middle.
Sugar on the left, spice spice on the right.
With Drew Barrymore on one end and who was the other one?
Debbie Mazar. I'm not so hot on Debbie. I'm not so hot on Debbie Mazar and Drew Barrymore, but sure, whatever.
No, I was just thinking. I just remembered it because I think this was like before Drew Barrymore came back as America's sweetheart. Remember, she had this whole rebellious phase where she just couldn't keep her clothes on in movies. She's pretty much in lingerie for most of Batman Forever. But she was working her way back. She was working her way back to respectability because at least this time she had clothes on.
I think this movie had two weak links. One, Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson, Robin. I'm sorry. Chris O'Donnell cannot act his way out of a paper bag. I'm sorry. And he has not improved since then. And Nicole Kidman as Dr. Chase Meridian. Now, I can't fault Nicole for this one necessarily. I wouldn't say that pithy, cliched statement of she does fine with the material, because I don't think she doesn't. She doesn't. But the material that she gets, the material she's given is so wretched, I can't blame her for not bothering.
That's true. She has basically one role in this movie. That's to be horny for Batman. Literally.
Yeah, she's like the world's fucking horniest psychologist.
She lights the bat signal on top of police headquarters while wearing a nightie just to get Batman's attention.
I do love her name though, Chase Meridian. That's a fucking name for a cat.
That is a great name. I got to give you that. But the neon, again, now you have to watch this movie now through that lens that you're watching it. A big budget blockbuster version of the 60s show. It'll all make sense. It'll all make sense. Which makes it all the sadder that they couldn't choose a Bruce Wayne with a little life in him to sell it.
Are we talking? And how do you feel about Batman and Robin?
I kind of liked it the first time I saw it. I didn't know any better.
Well, I mean, you would have been like, how old were you?
What year? I think I was like 14, 15. But the thing
that's fine. You don't like stupid shit when we're 14.
I don't know. I was on a Batman high, The animated series was like in its 4th season or something. And it was actually the first Batman movie I ever saw on the big screen. So I was excited just to be there, And I'd already had months of hype from the internet, which was a new thing back then. And websites like Ain't It Cool News, which did nothing but post spy shots or leaked script items, details. So it was all exciting.
The ever reliable and trustworthy AintItCoolNews.com. That Harry Knowles will say anything.
Oh, good God.
That will say any kind. And that Harry Knowles will praise any movie as long as you wrap the screenplay around a Snickers bar.
That is true. Or give him presents. But anyways, I mean, I was excited. I was riding the hype train. I fully admit that I was riding the hype train. This was before I learned, I believe the year after, that following the hype train is not always a good thing. I learned this the year later, because the year later, I saw The Phantom Menace. And I was like, I've made a horrible mistake. It's like, not everything that has hype deserves it.
But, you have to admit, Batman and Robin, it did give us a lot of great memes and a lot of great puns. And I think I will forever treasure Batman and Robin for being endlessly referentiable.
Referable?
A movie you can reference.
I will. Yeah. I got something, though. And this one, I agree with my girlfriend here. Poison Ivy is kind of awesome. She knew exactly what kind of... Uma Thurman knew exactly what kind of movie she was getting into, and she knew exactly how to play it. Only trouble is, nobody around her was on the same wavelength.
Yeah, here. Think about it this way. Watch that movie again, and imagine she's a drag queen.
It's perfect.
The whole thing makes sense.
The whole thing makes sense.
The whole thing makes sense.
Like, yeah. I mean, think about it. You knew something was wrong with this movie when Arnold Schwarzenegger's name went above the guy who plays Batman's. I mean, come on. Fine, he was the biggest star in the world at the time, but he's basically a parody of himself in this one. Everything he says is a cheesy one-liner.
Gotta chill.
That's your best Arnold, really?
I'm working it. Maybe I need to drink more.
Yeah, maybe. Not even like a freeze. A freeze is coming. Never mind. I give up. Let's not do that. Let's not do impressions.
I'm not going to do them on air. That's for sure.
Sure. Yeah, that's the smart thing to do. But as maligned as Batman and Robin is, as horrible horrible, overstuffed, overproduced, overshot, overcostumed, overlit, overwrought as that movie is, I feel that it is not the worst example of a superhero movie that I've ever seen. So a lot of the hate towards it is kind of unwarranted. It should be hated for a lot of things. That's true. But I think that more people hate it just because it's fashionable to do so.
Yeah, like it basically, he made a lot of it's funny how oversensitive and angry people are about these, what Schumacher had done to Batman, when you consider that Batman fans don't exactly suffer from a lack of wealth and treasures to enjoy in the world of media and pop culture. Do you know what I mean? Like,
back then,
Joel Schumacher's yeah, but even then, like, you got the cartoons and all that stuff, and
right,
the video games already. It's compared to something like, let's say, the Fantastic Four or the Avengers. Even those guys, like, a bad Batman movie is just a blip in the larger scale of things. And I'm pretty sure that that applies to today. With some of the disappointments of the DC extended universe, they're never going to stop making Batman movies.
Right.
Not as long as they think, it's worth. There's a potential to make as much money as they had before.
That's true. But we still have to recognize that Batman and Robin pretty much killed that franchise and all superhero movies for years and years. Oh, well, no, they killed Batman for years and years, about 7-8 years, because the year after Batman or 2 years after that, Blade came out, and then Blade, then X-Men, then Spider-Man, and after that, the good times got rolling.
Yeah, you can concede. Okay, let's concede that Batman and Robin killed the genre.
No, I think
for all of 2 seconds.
Let's go with
for
kill
all of
the
2
franchise.
seconds.
Yeah, I was wrong. I'm sorry. They killed the franchise, didn't kill the genre, but. That's why, I think that despite all of the bile thrown at this movie on the internet, Joel Schumacher has been nothing but a class act. He has repeatedly apologized for this film in public. He's repeatedly said that the story could have had more work, or maybe he wasn't the right person for it, or he could have had a better handle on the material. But at the end of the day, he takes responsibility and he does not blame anybody for it. And I think that is the classiest thing. That is the absolute classiest thing.
I appreciate that in an age where apologies are becoming very common.
Right.
He knew how to apologize. He doesn't try to get defensive about it.
Yeah.
He just goes, "I'm sorry, that was a mistake."
Yep.
And he doesn't try to assuage his ego or or pretend that he can deflect responsibility for it. And I think that's something to admire. Along with having such an illustrious filmography. A reputation for working so well with actors who have had nothing but kind words to say about him on Twitter.
I think that, and I think also because when this happened, he was in his late 50s, early 60s when he made that movie. So I think he was maybe a lot more mature than a lot of the people who are making films now. So, and also because he'd already had so many successful films of different genres. That what you said is absolutely right. One bad flick, whether in terms of the genre or in terms of his output, didn't really take any skin off his nose because he continued to make successful movies after that movie.
Yeah. And I think that is it for our retrospective on Joel Schumacher.
Yeah. Let us know what your favorite Joel Schumacher movie is, or let us know why we should or should not hate on Batman and Robin some more. Hopefully you guys check out some other Joel Schumacher movies. Let us know how that goes in the comments. And maybe we'll get back to this in a future episode. Until next time, you've been listening to 3 Point Landing. I'm Misha.
I'm Matthew.
Signing off. 3 Point Landing is recorded at Big Baby Studios. Follow us on Facebook at 3 Point Landing PH.